Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the It's Just Dinner podcast. I'm your host, Tom Robinson, and right alongside of me, sitting directly across from me, my co-host, Bob Walls.
Tom, it's great to be here. Great to be with you as always.
Good to see you.
What a beautiful day it is.
It's a little rainy.
It's rainy, but
nice
fall is
and
coming
warm.
on. We got fall color in the mountains.
It's
If you haven't
beautiful.
been out there, get out there.
It is beautiful. A good way to spend a Saturday afternoon.
That
going
would
on
be a
hike
great
in the-
date, wouldn't it?
It
To
really
take a
would
young
be.
woman out and see the fall colors.
It would be
Inexpensive date.
and cheap,
Yes.
and so you can just walk around. And I'm all about cheap date.
Cheap
I'm
dates.
just going to say I'm a cheap date.
Yeah, well, that's I've heard that.
That was the word. Back
That was
in
the
day.
word back in the day.
that Tom will always spend no money on you to go on a date.
Well,
We don't have a guest today.
and that's
It's
just
just-
fine.
it's
We
just
don't
me
need a
and you.
guest. It's just we're more entertaining than any guest.
It's
We
going
bring
back.
in these people. They think they're all that. They're not.
They're not.
We're the funny ones.
We're the ones
You
that
can
carry
say that
the
again.
show.
That's right. This is our show.
We're going back to old school where it's just the two of us talking.
back in the good old days when
Back
we
in the
used
good
just
old
to
days.
come and fill up the entire show just telling jokes.
Just telling jokes. But I think this is going to be fun.
I think so too.
I found an article. I found a couple of articles that I
Yes.
thought would be fun to talk about. And in my hand,
wow.
I have some questions that
Questions.
people have actually
Okay.
given the It's Just Dinner podcast to respond to.
I
So
like it when people
these
ask
are from
questions.
fans.
I like
These are
it
from
when
our fans.
when the fans get involved and
We
ask
love our
questions.
fans.
We do love our fans.
We do. Dearly, we love you. If
so
no
they-
one else loves you, you know that the people on the It's Just Dinner podcast love you.
are in love with you.
Yes.
So the article I found is called 7 Things Women Do When You're Coming On Too Strong.
Coming on too strong.
Too strong.
Okay, so this is when you are approaching a woman and you're overdoing it. This is how they react. This is how they let you know
These are the clues
to back off.
to back off.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
This was written by Marnie Kinrys,
Mm-hmm.
and I just
Do you know Marnie?
I don't know Marnie,
Oh.
but I just wanted to give her credit.
Is she a viewer, listener of our podcast?
Well, I think we're going to promote her on
Okay.
this, and she will
Well,
be
she better
a
darn well
listener.
listen to our
So
podcast.
I just
then.
love this article, and you guys should look it up and read it. And it's really this idea that, a lot of times boys will
Yeah.
come on too strong and the girls get nervous. And I like what she says here in this article. It says, coming on too strong means that the way you're acting, either through your words, texting, constant contact, eagerness to make plans, or quickness to commit, is out of sync with the way the woman is trying to let the date go.
Oh, well, that's pretty direct, isn't it?
Yeah, so
But
that's a lot to
this
cover.
is a difficult thing because the one thing that you want to do in the dating world is to come off as being confident.
Correct.
And so
Right.
some person's confidence could be another person's over aggression. And so I'm just throwing out there to start, but I think a lot of guys don't know that they're coming on too strong. So it's actually a good thing.
It's a good thing.
for the other person to, and vice versa, for the other person to let them know that, hey, you're just moving a little too fast. here.
Right. But there's some clues. Girls
Okay,
may
well,
not
good. Let's-
come directly out.
It's
and
too bad
say
we
that.
don't know what those clues are.
Yeah, too bad we don't
Oh,
have any
wait.
girls here
If
to
we
like,
had-
say anything.
If we had a girl to comment on
Yes,
this.
we did.
And by the way, Lauren's sitting at our engineering
Yes,
booth
Lauren.
again.
Delightful as
Hello.
always.
As-
Glad to have.
Shucks,
Um,
you guys.
Marnie does say again here, she says that your eagerness comes across as too much for her, which is a nice way of saying you may be creeping the heck out of her and
wow.
she can't handle it.
Bad. Lauren, has that ever happened? You ever been creeped out to the point that you could not handle it?
Almost.
Almost. Well, okay.
I don't know. I mean, she might go on to explain in the article, but I think usually when that happens, it's usually because you have been in like their mind for for an extended, maybe like too much of a period of time, and so it's like, oh, do they not have anything else that like they're worrying about or like they're thinking
Or is
about?
it
Am
just
I the
me?
only thing
Right.
that
And that's
they're-
creepy.
That
they're
is a
focused
little.
on?
Well, it can be a little creepy. It
Right.
could be wonderful, depending
If it's
on
the right
Right.
person.
Right.
exactly.
All right, so you ready for this list?
I'm ready. Hit us.
So we have
Hit us.
seven things that
7
she says
things.
that women
Okay.
will do. All right, the first one, a little controversial, and I want to talk
Oh,
about this one.
Okay.
But number one, she says that she'll ghost you.
Ghost you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so if you're creeping her out a little bit, if you're moving way too fast,
All right.
one of her first reactions will to ghost you. And you know
See,
what that means, right?
Well, I
Ghosting
do know what
and
that
she-
means.
she
You
will
know,
act-
I'm an
she-
old person,
she
Tom,
will
but-
act as if she died.
Yeah. just no response.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, because this is interesting, because many times as the hosts of the It's Dinner podcast, we get questions from people to say something like, what do I do when a girl ghosts me?
Exactly.
Do we not get
we've
that
had
question a lot?
A lot.
Many do
A
we
lot.
get that question a lot,
Yeah.
don't we?
We do.
So now I know what to say in the future is, I don't know. No, I say, it might be that you're coming on a little too strong.
Yes, absolutely. And this is funny because if you think about this, it's really kind of I don't want to say defense mechanism, but it's for a girl is scared to tell you the truth.
Right.
And so she just won't tell you anything.
Right.
And boys do this too.
Yes,
and
they
boys
do.
are just
Yeah.
as
They do this
guilty
all
of
the
this
time.
as the
Yes.
girls.
Yeah.
But the boys need to realize that if you go out on a first date and you do a follow-up text or you text her again and there's no response, that's a hint.
That she is probably in the hospital.
She is not.
She's broken her fingers.
She
and
is
can't.
not
No.
interested.
She
now.
is almost dead to you.
Yes.
Almost dead. Now it could mean she's busy, and that she doesn't have time.
That's
kind
what
of-
it could mean. That.
But I think the advice from in this article is that it's a pretty good sign that
Right.
she's just not interested, and that you
Well,
should
not
move
interested.
on.
Maybe because you could examine your procedures that you follow. That maybe you were a little bit too exuberant
Correct.
about this.
Correct.
You were too a little more excited than maybe she was.
Right.
Well, and here's the other thing too is that if a woman, at least in my experience, if a woman ever says she's busy, she either is or she's not interested.
Well, and that's true
Right.
for men too. It's
yeah,
like if
no,
I'm busy, then-
absolutely.
yeah. So
And so-
ghosting is interesting.
But here's the thing though, is if they're busy and they're interested, they will still text you back.
Good point. Now, here's another.
No, so you're saying no one is that busy?
No.
I mean, if you're interested, you make time for the people you're
there
interested
you
in.
go.
and
that's,
I think our parents would tell us that too, right?
Yeah.
So your parents will say, "Look, you're not too busy," because I
Right.
tell my son this all the time. You're not too busy to just respond in a text really
Right.
quick.
Mhm.
So now here's the other thing about ghosting. And I've heard young people talk about this all the time. Is that if we have been on 2, 3, 4 dates, and you all of a sudden ghost me, that is
yeah.
so
It's
wrong.
disrespectful.
Yes.
That is so disrespectful. It's so wrong. That should not happen. And if
And-
you're
and-
doing that, you need to become a grown up.
And
deal with
let's
that.
explain the reason behind that, because after 2 or 3 dates, you have developed what we call a relationship.
That's very, very true.
And the relationship has certain protocol that is involved to it, and communication is one of those.
Right.
So if you want to end the relationship, there's a way to do that that's better than just ignoring the other person.
Right.
Because it's mean-spirited, but you kind of know. Don't you learn something about somebody who would do that if
Oh.
you had a relationship with
Oh,
someone and then they just
absolutely.
ghost
Yeah.
you? You probably you won't because you're heartbroken. You'll probably want to say something later on like, dodged a bullet on
Yeah.
that one.
Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
so glad I
Yes.
dodged that bullet.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think in my mind, as I see this, is that if you're not hitting it off after you go to dinner,
Right.
and you're not hitting it off
Because you
and
don't have a relationship.
no relationship,
Right.
and you ghost, I don't see that much of a problem with it. I still don't think it's overly polite,
Yeah.
but I do think that a boy in particular, because that's who we're talking about, should get the hint.
Yes. Well, and it's
And
it's
to-
understandable that some people don't want to be direct to just say, hey, "Look, I don't like you. I
Right.
didn't go well. I don't ever want to see you again," or whatever.
Right.
To be that direct, it's easier when you don't really have a relationship with someone to just not respond if you can.
Right, and I hear this a lot about dating apps. It's that the ghosting, they said. So somebody will respond to your profile, and then you'll respond back, and then you don't hear anything. They just completely ghost you.
Right.
Okay, those of you that are out there on dating apps, I'm very pro dating apps, but it's rude
It didn't sound very
to ghost
pro-dating
people.
app.
It didn't.
It did not.
But I hear it happening all the time. The young people tell me that it's one of their most biggest frustrations with dating apps is all the ghosting that goes on. But here's the thing. I want everybody to understand this. If they're ghosting you on a dating app or they've ghosted you after you've gone out to dinner, it means they're not interested.
Yeah.
Not always,
It's
not
very
100% of the time, but it may be.
It's very
Well, and
sad.
here's my thing is you can like unlike the people. So if you're going to ghost them, like you might as well just like
Just
not be
come
matched
full
anymore.
out.
That's just on a dating app.
You're
yes,
right, on a dating
absolutely.
app. Yeah, like
Absolutely. So, number 2.
Number 2. We're
Okay?
moving on to
and
number 2.
this is interesting because it goes right into what we were talking about.
Huh.
Is it number 2? She kindly tells you to go away.
Ah.
Now, this is like not like, hey, I'm not interested, go away.
Right.
Okay,
This
this is like she hints
She hints.
at it, like my friends and I haven't seen much of each other, so we're going to try to catch up.
Oh. Okay,
That's a hint.
That's a hint.
That's telling you, look,
Okay.
she's really trying to brush you off.
Okay.
And so she's trying to be kind and tell you that she's really not interested. And so she tells you she's got something else going. Like
Right.
it used to be back in our day, remember? I'm going to wash my hair today.
Yes. I remember one time I asked a girl out and she said, "Oh, I can't go. I'm going to a movie with my mom."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, I get it.
I get
I
enough
get it.
said.
Enough
and
said."
And see that what you just said is perfect. That if she says that to you, you need to say, "Okay, I get it.
Again, that's
I get the hint,
gonna
Right.
stop
I
barking up
understand.
that tree.
and I'm going to move on because
Yeah.
I know that this isn't a connection, and that we're really not. That things aren't going to go, the way that I'd hoped. So
Yeah.
I get the hint,
Uh-huh.
and some of the time, I think boys have a hard time getting the hints.
Yeah,
And guys, I love you. We're one of
Right.
you.
we're
Right.
rooting for
well,
you.
we used to be.
We used
you
to be
know.
one of you, but we understand.
Right. Well, and sometimes it's difficult because you are wanting something so badly, and you meet somebody and you like them, and right away you want them to like you back.
Right.
And when they say something like that, you can come up with 100 different reasons of trying to say, well, maybe they really are going to a movie with their mom.
Maybe they do want to.
Maybe
catch
they
up
do
with
really
their
like
friends.
me. I think I'll try again.
And I'll-
Maybe I'll bring flowers to her house.
Well, and I think too, like, if it happens once and like you're not reading the signal, okay, whatever. But if like she, like twice, 3 times at the most,
Yeah.
like if she's still making excuses, she's not interested.
She's not
Well,
interested.
if she says, "I'm sorry, I'm going to a movie with my mother, but I would like to go another time."
Right.
Or my roommates and I haven't seen each other, but I'd like to do something else.
Right. Oh yeah, and that's a good thing for the girls to know.
Yes,
Right.
right.
That if you really are interested
Or even slightly.
or slightly interested, tell him.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you just said, my roommates and I need to catch up, but I really would like to do something.
Right. I would
Yeah.
like to get to
And
know
I,
you.
I
or
think
something.
that's only fair.
Yeah, I think
But
it is. Too.
but boys,
I agree.
if she keeps doing that, get the hint.
Take
Now here's another one, and I don't know that I think this is kind of rude for the girls
Oh.
to do this. But I think boys, if this is happening, you need to get the hint on this one. And she'll continue to make plans and then cancel.
Ooh.
And that's like accepting a date, and then she cancels on the date.
big red flag there.
That's a big red flag.
And that's a big red flag, and I think the
Yeah.
boys ought to be grateful they dodged a bullet
Right.
on that one. But
Yeah.
there's also a hint there.
Or vice versa. If a guy asks you out and then keeps changing the plans and
yeah.
canceling the same way,
Right.
that's not. Well, number one, it's not respectful, and it indicates that they're really not that interested
Right.
in you.
And it is rude, and I
Yeah.
think it's hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens is that you keep making plans, so the person thinks they're going on a date or they have something to do,
Right.
and then you cancel, and it deflates them.
What
And it
what
goes
usually,
in either direction, and I think it's very deflating.
and because what it usually means is they got a better offer.
That's true.
And so
Right.
they're saying,
Hey,
oh,
that makes,
it turns
that
out
makes
we
it even
can't-
more painful.
Yeah, well, we can't go. I'm sorry. We'll have to reschedule.
But I'm going to the game with
Yeah.
someone else.
Yeah,
today.
Oof.
Someone I like asked me out. So.
So now this is another good one. This is number 4 on the list, and this is she'll delay her responses. Now,
So not ghosting, but just delay the response.
And so it's when this says is when the woman takes the day or a day and a half to get back with you. It's a huge sign that you need to slow down and roll back and roll back on her. So I think that's a really true point. That's like you text, and all of a sudden you don't hear anything for a week.
Right.
Okay, that's a really good sign.
That's a very long delay.
And, yeah, and I would say that's true for the young women as well, because I think if you go on a date or you go out to dinner and you send the boy a text,
Right.
and he doesn't respond for a week, there's a hint there.
Right.
And
I remember we had a guest on one time. We talked about the friend zone,
Yes.
and the principle kind of applies here. His theory on that, I don't remember that kid's name, but he said, don't allow yourself to get put in the friend zone. And his response was, when people do things that indicate you're in the friend zone, leave.
Go. Yeah.
Yep.
Because there's no space for you there. And so I think it's the same in this. If you're getting a delayed response, don't sit around and get slapped upside the head again. Just realize you're moving on.
Right.
And if she did this unintentionally, she'll let you know. She'll say, hey, boy, how come you have you say, well, you'd been delaying your responses, so I figured you were done with me. Take charge. Be a man.
Be a man.
Show that confidence that women like in men.
Well, and I think, too, like, for me, I don't remember who I heard it from, but somebody was telling me they have an 8-hour rule. And so within 8 hours, if they haven't responded to you, then move on.
Right.
Because, like, 8 hours is enough time.
8 hours of awake time.
Of awake time.
Yeah.
For a small text, even saying, like, hey, I'm at work.
Right.
Can I text you later? Or, like, hey, I'm doing this thing with my family. Can I text you later? Or so
you just respond. You say, "Can I bring some flowers to your hospital room?"
Because I know you're ill.
Because obviously it's been more than 8 hours and you haven't responded. So I'm assuming that some ill fortune has befallen on you.
All right, see what you think of this one. This is number 5.
Okay.
And this says she'll send you simple, short responses.
Ah.
So you text her.
that's fair.
Okay, and then it says here that it's probably a very slow pace, but all messages will be short, sweet, to the point, and avoid any emotion.
That's not a good sign.
Did you have fun last night? Yes. That's it. That's not a good sign. So if you're getting responses that are short,
well,
sweet,
even worse
straight to
than
the
yes
point,
would be yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or an emoji.
Yeah,
of-
just a thumbs up
Like-
emoji. That's
So,
not very subtle, though.
It's not subtle. And I think it says here that it's probably that she doesn't really want to hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
And she wants to respond. She doesn't want to respond, but she's going to respond, and so she does it in very short.
But most people
answers.
are genuinely nice. Most people don't want to hurt other people's feelings, but they also don't want to be hurt themselves.
Right.
And so it's difficult with all the protocol in dating to figure this out. But generally, it's better for you for a girl to let you down easily than it is for her to lead you on, and then you're going to feel real pain.
Right.
Because then you feel you've been deceived.
Well, in this one, she really wants to be genuinely nice, but in doing that, she really is hurting the person. And again, these tips go the other direction as well.
do.
These go for the
for
girls.
sure.
And so if a boy is sending you like really short answers, he's trying to be nice. He doesn't want to hurt you, but really he is doing damage to you because in some way you feel like you still got a chance. So you're telling me there's a chance.
So there's a chance.
So, all right, that was 6. Number 6. Number 6, she'll pull away. As soon as things start getting a little too eager and moving too fast, she'll pull away from you. And I don't know if I think that's kind of like it's like almost that you feel it physically. You kind of feel her like, pulling away from you and not wanting to get close to you.
No, this I've experienced this before. So the first key is she stops laughing at your jokes, and because women show you that they like you by laughing at your jokes,
Even if they're not funny.
Well, all my jokes are
That's true.
funny. All my jokes, even if they're not funny, they laugh because they're giving you a response back of encouragement.
Right.
And if suddenly they're not laughing at your jokes, you need to say something like, "Whoa, this is something is going on here."
So I kind of see this one as one where there's been multiple dates.
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
it's not just the first dinner, but you've
Right.
gone on a date, you've gone on a second date. All of a sudden now she's not laughing at your jokes. She, she's a little more, aloof. And
busy
she's
doing other
pulling
things,
back
pulling
and-
back.
Well,
you
and
know.
I think that goes emotionally and physically as well.
Correct.
Like if you normally go in for a hug or something like at the end of the date, but it's just
And
very
the arms
like,
the arms go
stiff.
straight down.
Yeah, it's either stiff or it's like very short or the pat on the back. Sometimes that's accidental, but like the pat on the back that's like, oh, we're just friends. You know, like I think any of those are pretty good indicators in addition to the emotional distance that like it's probably not going to keep
probably
going.
not going to keep going. And
Unless she's just having a
And
bad
again-
day and she lets you know
well,
that.
and I think this article was written about signs when you're coming on too fast.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she pulls away. You need to
She
realize
wants
that
she's
she
trying to
wants
let
some
you know
space.
that I am not as involved in this as you are.
Correct.
So another visual cue on this is the way women dress, and men dress too. if you're going to go out and previously they dressed, nicely, and then suddenly they're just very casual and they don't seem to care how they dress. That's a sign to you that they really don't care if they're with you or not.
Right. Well, that's the friend zone thing.
Right. They're trying to move you to the friend zone to just this be a casual thing. Yeah, we're just hanging out. We're just friends. And so, as hard as it is, guys, you just got to take that and walk away.
Right.
And don't stick around for the right hook, to knock you out. Just realize, okay, she's letting me know that she's not into me anymore.
And you need to move on.
Yeah,
and
for your own good.
For your own good, and so that you don't get really seriously hurt.
Yeah.
And so, all right, you ready for number 7? This is the last one.
Yes,
oh, my
absolutely.
goodness, the last one.
I'm
We're
on
already
the
to number
edge
7.
of my seat.
Already to number 7. And this one's interesting. It says, she'll tell you that you're being too intense. And this it's interesting because she says, a mature woman will simply tell you that she's not on the same page as you and needs things to slow down and not be so intense.
Period.
She just put you in the friend zone.
Right.
And it's funny because it says a mature woman will do that. So this is like when you hear that, okay, back off.
Right.
Okay. And
when you hear that, it's
it's pretty
game
fine.
over.
It's pretty
But
direct.
isn't it interesting that the final one, the last one, is the most direct, the most
Right.
honest, mature one that we get to here is that you just say, look, this is moving a little too fast for me. Can we just back off a little bit here?
Right.
Now see how that's probably the most difficult one to do, but clearly the most effective. Because now you're just being open and honest in your relationship, and then you can talk about it, and they can say, well, I kind of felt like we were moving towards this, and you can say, well, no, I didn't feel that way, and you're just pushing this a little too fast for me.
Right.
There's things about you that I like, or but I am not ready for this serious of a relationship right now, and there's other people I want to date and I want to get to know. So, if you can back off a little, then maybe we can get to know each other better, but you're moving way too fast.
How many times have we had this question?
Many times.
Where it's how do I tell someone if I'm not interested?
Yes, you just come right out and you say it.
And I say that it will hurt right up front. It will hurt. But in the long run, it's much better.
Yeah.
Because it'll hurt
for everybody
when you hear it, but you don't get drug on.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and they don't have to do all these other 6 because they were direct, and it will hurt you. But ladies, be honest.
Yeah.
If you're not interested, if a boy asks you to go out to dinner and you guys go out to dinner, and then he says, hey, would you like to go on another date? And if you're not interested, just tell him.
Yeah.
Just tell him, I don't think that this is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to, it was great to have dinner with you, but I don't see this going anywhere.
Right.
Well, and I think you need to be very, very clear, because I've had situations where I've been like, you know what, like, I'm not really looking for anything right now. And then the guy will respond and be like, oh, well, like, I just want to be friends, but, like, if anything happens, like, it's just because we were friends. And I'm like, no, you're still thinking that, like, I want you to keep pursuing me to some degree. Like, that's not what I want. I don't want to see you in that kind of context.
Right.
Again.
and remembering that once you have developed a relationship with someone that is based on a dating courtship relationship, it's nearly impossible to be friends.
Right.
Let's just be friends is a misnomer.
Right.
Because if I still have feelings for someone and you're saying let's just be friends, I'm thinking that I'm going to win you over.
Right.
And we're going to become more than friends. If we were before, there's no way.
We call that the dagger.
Yeah.
Well, let's just be friends. It's just like,
well, if you take it that way, but if you don't, and if you just hang around and think, well, I'd rather just be friends with her than not have her at all, you're just setting yourself up for a bigger fall.
Right.
And so you're better to just go home and sit in front of the television and cry or whatever it is that you're going to do. Eat ice cream, call your parents. I don't know, whatever you do to get over that pain. And it's a real pain.
Yeah, and then move on.
Yeah, and move on. The best way, just like, Tom, you'll know this because you're a cowboy, you just get right back on the horse.
Right on the horse.
Get, and you find another person to talk with, even though you might not be romantically inclined with them.
Yeah.
You just go find somebody that you can have a conversation with and meet a new person.
That's the joy of It's Just Dinner.
That's just where I was going with this.
Amen.
It's like you were reading my mind.
It's like I was reading your mind.
It's like you were reading my mind.
Thing.
Yeah.
That's this whole thing. It's not a date.
Yeah.
It's just dinner.
It's just dinner.
So if you get hurt, if something happens, if someone's not interested,
Yeah.
go on and find someone else to just take to dinner,
Right.
to go get ice cream with, and talk and have that
Right.
conversation.
And don't talk about the girl who just dumped you.
No.
Gosh, no, don't.
Yeah.
Please don't do
Talk
that.
about anything else.
Please don't do that.
But don't talk about
That's
the
a
girl
red
who
flag
just.
in and of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's interesting, and I really love this article, and I would recommend that you go out and look for this article. Let me give you guys the name again of the article. It was 7 Things Women Do When You're Coming On Too Strong, and I think you could
Yes.
probably Google that
Who's that by again?
and find it. It was Marnie Kinrys, Kinrys.
Okay.
Awesome.
And so I would recommend you go out and read that. It's very good. I think everybody should have that on their list of things not to do or to be careful with
Right.
when you see those things happening. All right. So I have some questions.
Okay, here we go.
These are from the listeners. Now this one it goes along with I kind of tried to pick some that went along with our topic here. We have so many.
It's probably hard to sort through all
They're
of those.
rolling in on the It's Just Dinner podcast at gmail.com.
So this is where these
It's-
come from, is the It's Just Dinner gmail.com.
The It's Just Dinner podcast
The It's Just Dinner podcast
at Gmail.
at gmail.com.
And we're getting,
That's what
We
people
got
need
it.
to
we're
write
getting
down.
flooded. Yeah, write that down. It's a little long, but
But you can do it.
very specific.
You guys are
Yeah.
grown-ups. You're good.
We should,
Big people.
Would temporary tattoos, do you think that would?
We could-
Probably
I don't know.
permanent
Maybe we
tattoos.
can.
Well,
I think
no.
that's probably the best
That's a
option.
little too, well.
So here's the first one. This goes along, and I think this is a really interesting and is one, how do I get out of a date?
This is somebody who sent us an email.
And they've asked us, it's like,
How do I get out of a
How do I
date?
get out of a date? I've got this date coming up, and I don't want to go.
Oh.
I've accepted.
So they
Now
asked them.
Someone asked them.
Someone asked them on it. We don't know if it's male or female. But someone asked them on a date.
Yes,
And they accepted.
correct.
And now they don't want to go.
Yeah,
Wow.
and so
I see. I think you go. I think if you accepted, you go, unless you're feeling physically, afraid or something
right.
like this.
Well, I'm assuming it wasn't. I'm assuming they just had it. They just changed
changed
their
their heart,
mind.
and they just they
Right.
I would just be honest.
just come and say, I
Hold
don't
on.
want to go.
I just don't.
I think there's either option. Either go, and then if they ask you on another date, then you just are straight up with them and you say, no, I'm not interested. Or you just say, hey, I changed my mind and I'm really sorry about this, but I don't want to lead you on. Thank you so much. I'm flattered for the invite.
Okay, now I'm going to take all this apart. I'm going to take this apart. All right. So let's look at this in totality. All I'm asking you to do is have a conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking you to do. I'm not asking you to go steady with me or potentially be my wedding partner or to have a relationship. I'm just saying I want to get to know you better.
Right.
And so why would you say no to that?
If it's just and
No,
it
that's
is
fair.
if it's just the hour
Yeah.
and you're just
Right.
going to have ice cream or dinner or whatever it is and you're just going to talk, you probably should just go on the date
and
and
the-
then do what
Yeah.
we just talked about
Right.
and just say, look, I don't really see it going beyond this
Right.
point. So thank you for the dinner.
Or just to the joy of having a conversation with another human being.
Right.
You might think, oh, gee, this person doesn't, the way they look, and thinks that's just not, whatever. But you just don't know, because sometimes you have a match with people because you just hit it off.
Right.
You have a lot in common, or you have similar interests, and you just enjoy the conversation. It doesn't mean that you have to think of this person as your future spouse. Don't do that.
Don't.
If anyone
Yeah.
tells
Stop
you to
it.
do that,
Please
tell them
don't.
that Tom Robinson said, "Don't do that."
Stop it.
And
Okay,
I
that-
quote.
And I quote Tom Robinson. who said-
Yes.
All right, so this is interesting because
Dr. Tom
it's a
Robinson.
follow-up with the same person. So I get the feeling that this person is worried that they were going to go on the date. And so this was the next follow-up
Okay.
question. At what point can I leave on the date?
I think on that one, it's any point.
Yep.
At any point, yeah. So, I mean, I think it's okay to have the dinner and then at some point you need to leave.
Right.
And ladies, I'm going to tell you the best way to deal with this is drive yourself to the date.
Yes.
Yep.
That way you can get back in your own car and you can leave.
Well,
So-
but see, and I'm going to throw in a thing here too. It depends on what your rationale for leaving. If you show up and say, wow, they don't look like a supermodel, I'm out of here, that shows how shallow you are.
Yeah.
If you sit down to have a conversation and they're coming on too strong, or you feel physically threatened, or it's just so awkward,
Right.
or they're not what they purported to be, get up and leave immediately.
Immediately.
But if it's just, physical appearance, it's only a conversation.
Right.
And you get past that really quickly
Right.
when you have a conversation.
And
with someone.
if he or she is really nice,
Right.
and you're not romantically interested, that's okay.
It is.
Meet someone, talk to them, have a nice conversation, have a nice meal, and then part ways.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good thing.
I think it is.
But
too.
I do think you make a good point that if at some point you feel uncomfortable and you feel like things aren't going the way that you thought they were going to, then leave.
Get up.
Yep.
Leave. All right, one more. We have time for one more.
Oh, good.
Okay, and this one, we've talked about this one on this podcast before too, and I just thought it was funny. How soon after the date should I send the follow-up text?
Man, that's like pre-planning, isn't
That
it?
is like, okay, how
That's
do I
a little-
do that?
it's-
So, and as you know, I've lived this. So, and I thought the follow-up text was stupid
You did.
until I lived it.
Well, see, we talked about this many times when we thought it was stupid.
Yeah.
But now that you have lived it, you have a different opinion.
I have a different opinion.
Okay,
I
let's hear
think you absolutely have to send the follow-up text.
Really?
100%. Unless
I
you're
did-
ghosting
I
the
did-
person.
I did not see that coming. But
Yeah.
Dr. Robinson, please explain to us why you now believe that it's important to send the follow-up text.
I think first of all, it's polite.
Oh.
So let's just pretend,
I
Lauren.
didn't see him pulling that card.
Let's
the
just
polite
pretend
card.
for a minute, Lauren, that you invite me to go to dinner.
Tom, would you like to go to dinner?
See, now we're going to dinner, right? And you
Okay.
and I go and we have a conversation and we
All right.
have fun and we talk about sports and,
Okay.
and school and all kinds of things.
What part am I in this?
And
Am I the
you're
waiter?
not.
What,
You're
I'm
the
not,
waiter.
I'm not in this little
You're the
fantasy.
third
you've
wheel.
created.
So then, Lauren, we
Third wheel
part
again.
ways. I think it's important that I text you and say, Lauren, thank you for the night. It was wonderful. I really appreciate it. It
Yeah.
was great. That's it.
Right.
That's it.
And you don't necessarily need to say, let's do something again.
No.
But
No.
but you could.
But you could, okay? And it's a really great time for you to say, if you're interested, say, thank you so much. I'd really like to do this again sometime. That's, man, that's just a great thing. Now, at that point, now Lauren, it's in your ballpark.
Right.
Okay, now Lauren could ghost me. If she does, I know that she
You do.
wasn't
yeah, because
interested.
this article we
this
just
article
read.
we just read.
See how we tied
He
that
knows
in?
the tips.
So Lauren could ghost me, and then I know.
Yeah.
But if Lauren's interested, if you're interested in going on another date with me, you'd say, yeah, this is great. Let's do it again.
Or if she delayed her response, it was like 3 days later, and she just
Or
said,
she says,
"May-
yeah.
maybe." Who's this?
New phone. Who dis?
Who's this? So it's great because there's a lot of hints in this article we just went over and
Yeah.
how to deal with that.
Well, I feel so much more prepared now
I
to answer
know.
these questions.
Me too.
I feel like the follow-up text actually is an important thing. I think that there is this piece of you
Well,
that is just kind of hanging there if you don't get the follow-up text.
see,
Right.
this is what PhDs do: is they research these things. They just don't bring us
And
junk.
and
they actually-
analyze
Wow.
it.
They go out and do research.
Yeah.
The analysis, the complete analysis of the follow-up text.
That's what you get when you listen to this podcast.
But I think it's important for everyone to realize that there's a lot of information that comes in through that follow-up text.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm seeing your point.
Or the lack of a follow-up
Yeah.
text. And
Yes.
so just
That,
remember,
I guess that no communication says something,
yes,
doesn't it?
absolutely. If you don't get the follow-up text, you normally know things didn't go well.
All right.
Now, I would recommend that Lauren, if I didn't give you a follow-up text, you should shoot me one.
Yep.
And then if I still don't respond, then you know.
Yes.
That's totally confirmed at that point.
Yes,
All right.
I
So,
agree.
but and sometimes people get busy and they don't send the follow-up text or they forget or whatever. So you give them maybe just like one more shot and then move on. Just
Right.
move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Can you remember that?
I've got it written
Yeah.
down here. I've got it tattooed right on my forearm.
Yeah.
Right on your forehead.
Yeah.
So this was fun.
I think this
And
was
I-
a lot of
yes,
fun.
I
We
hope-
didn't need any guests.
I hope that this is really informational. I
Yeah.
hope that the boys and the girls, I think we said a lot of things for both you guys.
Right.
Yep.
And I hope that you really kind of understand this and kind of grasp a hold of what we're trying to do here on the It's Just Dinner podcast
Mhm.
is really just help people.
Right.
and help them get out of this this fear.
Well, and I think what we need to help people understand is dating is not a transactional relationship. And many times we view it too much as transactional.
Absolutely.
And that's where we get in trouble, is we're trying to move the transaction rather than move the relationship.
Right.
And relationships are long-term,
Right,
based on trust. And transactions are short-term, and they don't have trust. And so what do you want to do? Do you want to have long-term trust-based relationships? I think you do.
Right.
And if those turn into more than that, they will just naturally do that over time.
Naturally
You don't need to have transactions to develop a long-term relationship. In fact, it usually creates the opposite.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a really good point. Great way to end this. Thank you.
Well,
I liked it a lot.
I feel really good. I think I was the star student this time.
I
Lauren.
think so.
I got a gold star here.
Hey, and you guys, we love getting your questions. And so you can do that. Let me repeat that email address one more time. It's Just Dinner Podcast @gmail.com. You can send us questions. You can send us your bad date stories. You can send us your funny date stories.
Right. You could send us money if you wanted. You could send us your credit card number.
You can put that on
the
the It's Just Dinner Venmo. We can.
You can also
I wish we
send
had an It's Just Dinner
guests
Venmo.
that you'd like to see.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Guests or topics that you'd like us to cover.
Yeah.
That would be great. Also, be sure to follow us on the It's Just Dinner YSA Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a young single adult. So It's Just Dinner YSA on Instagram. And then also we're at It's Just Dinner on TikTok.
And on Facebook as well.
And on Facebook. But lots of funny stuff out there we're putting up on TikTok and Instagram.
We're everywhere.
So we also, for those of you that are students at Brigham Young University, I can now promote the It's Just Dinner Club.
Wow.
Yep.
So I'm allowed to
We've been waiting a long time for this day.
For the club. And so if you're interested in kind of making a difference in the dating world, the club is doing a great job of kind of helping the students at BYU and the young single adults in the church to kind of get out of this
change the culture.
Change that there is. And
embrace
try to make
the change.
Better. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, well, thanks you guys. It was great. And all you guys that are listening, hey, just go have fun out there, would you?